All right. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, call the meeting to order. And we have the agenda in front of us. Are there additions or corrections to the agenda?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
All right, Ted makes a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Okay, Tom seconds. All right, any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. Public input. Is there anybody in the audience for public input? Okay, come to the microphone.
My name is Alan Leislow, and last May, Vicki Thompson and I were here, and we discussed a one county, one senator proposal. So I won't go into a whole bunch of detail on that, but I'll just briefly summarize that, and then I want to give an example of how this will benefit the counties of the state of Minnesota. The One County, One Senator Act would reconfigure the Senate, apportioning one senator per county, offering a more balanced approach that would better reflect the values of all Minnesotans across the whole state. One county, one senator would not affect the House of Representatives in that that would remain based on population distribution. Now, the Minnesota African, I gotta read this. The Minnesota African American Family Preservation and Child Welfare Disproportionality Act was an idea that originated in the metro area. A faction thought it would be a good idea, not only for the metro counties, but for all counties. Using emotionally charged claims, the supporters of that act were able to persuade enough support to pass the bill into law. Little did they know or care, this would affect the counties. It has become yet another unfunded mandate put on the backs of the counties. Under one county, one senator representation, a popular faction in two adjoining counties of Hennepin and Ramsey lose their divisive effect, creating a greater level of checks and balances, thus protecting the state from the volatile and potentially dangerous and or costly whims of the masses. Another thing that I mentioned when I was here last May was that when a bill would get introduced into the legislature, I would come back, and that's why I'm here. A bill has been introduced into the Senate by Senator Eric Lucero and into the House by Representative Mike Weiner, who Krista Knudsen also has co-authored. So what I'm asking now is that you would consider adopting a resolution in support of this, showing the legislators down there that there is support for this in Hubbard County. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Thank you.
I just have a comment. Two things, interestingly enough, Oregon is trying to, there's a senator that introduced a bill to separate Oregon for the exact same reason that Alan's bringing this forward, metro versus rural. But I spoke with Alan yesterday on the phone, and there's someone that's gonna be carrying it forward in Wadena County to Minnesota rural counties.
Okay,
Good.
all right.
It would bring good check and balances to the state,
Yeah,
for sure.
And I think this is also probably going to be discussed again when the legislative, the Association of Minnesota Counties gets together for the legislative session here this next week. So I believe it is going to be talked about and hopefully move forward. We'll see what happens.
And I appreciate all the support that I get from all of y'all.
Yes.
It's very, very, very much appreciated and very valued.
Okay, thank you.
thanks, Alan.
All right, is there anyone else for public input? All right, seeing none, we will move forward with the agenda. We have the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any additions or corrections?
We can just do consent.
Oh,
agenda
consent, I'm
approval.
sorry.
It's
Um,
okay.
Yes, we have the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve, Chair.
Is there a second?
I'll second, and I just have a quick question for Corey. On the donations at Garfield Lake, was that always supposed to be covered by non-county, right?
The donation,
For the construction of the picnic shelter?
No.
Did the county put in any money towards the picnic? Because it
No.
said it's they donated 4,000 to cover.
yeah, so that just covers the cost for the shelter materials.
Okay.
Otherwise, we did budget for
Okay,
other things.
Other improvements?
okay, thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? Right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, motion carried. County employee recognition.
Morning, Board.
Morning.
Morning.
As far as county employee recognition today, in Human Services, we have Jessica Iowan, social worker, is recognized for 10 years of service on February 17th. Kimmy Myers, eligibility worker, began the full-time position on February 10th. In the Sheriff's Department, Troy Christensen, Emergency Management Director, began the full-time position on February 9th. And in solid waste, Clark Erickson, certified attendant, began the part-time position on February 10th.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. I see Marley's not here yet. So we move on to highway.
Good morning. So I have a few items today. Starting with the first one is to review and approve the joint cooperative fuel facility user agreement for the Nevis fuel facility. It's located at their bus garage, and this is an update from the previous agreement, which was signed in 2006. And the major changes were highlighted and on the second agreement, or the previous agreement. And really the changes, one, that the fuel cost split will be updated to current use of the fuel. It was 1/3, 2/3 previously, and now it'll be about a 50-50 is the average that we're running, and then every year it'll be reviewed, and then we'll run off of that baseline for the next year coming. And also there was a right to dissolve added to the agreement, that if either entity wants to get out of the agreement, then they have that option to get out with a timely notification.
Andrea, I'm assuming that the attorney's taking a look at this?
Our attorney hasn't, but the Nevis school attorney did look at it, and they signed the agreement previously to us bringing it here.
Thank you.
I don't see any major changes that aren't warranted, so I would move to approve.
Okay, David moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried.
The second item I have is approval of purchase of a 2025 Ford F-150 for the survey department. This was with their budget, their 2025 budget. It'll be replacing a 2015 Chevy Silverado that they currently have. And it'll be used, the remonumentation fund that they have, purchased out of that account. And the price, the low bid came in, it was $48,435 from Park Rapids Ford.
What's gonna happen to the vehicle that they're using now? Is it gonna be handed down to another department if they so choose, or?
We talked about, we're gonna look into that. The first option would be to hand it down, and if we don't, then we'd sell it on the auction this summer when we auction excess fleet
Okay.
opportunities.
Is there any special equipment that's gonna be added to it, or is it just a?
Not at this time. They will be looking into some bed boxes into the truck. They're gonna see if they can reuse the ones that they currently have into the new truck bed style. They're not quite sure, every model seems to change of trucks, so they'll have to
Right,
probably wait
yeah.
till they get it and then see what they can outfit.
I don't
with.
recall if they used a topper, a specialized topper
No,
with
they don't,
storage in it or
yeah, they
anything,
just
so-
have some side boxes on their truck, and then, yeah, mainly, the only difference between the quotes was, 18-inch to 17-inch wheels, which they said wasn't a big deal, so they were okay with going with the XL version of the Ford.
Okay, all right. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried.
All right, the third item I have would be to approve the extension of our CP 292503, which is our calcium chloride project. Last year, we gave the bidders a chance to alternate bid, which is a consecutive year bid. So they bid 25 and 26 prices. And what we've seen with our costs and the mileage that we're doing, it looks like a pretty good cost comparison to other counties and what they're seeing. So I'd like to approve that extension on our contract with, it'd be with Envirotech Services LLC. And their prices were listed there for 2025, it'd be $1.43 per gallon for chloride, and then $1.62 per gallon for DuraBlend. And their 2026 prices were listed as well. We're getting our mileage finalized with the townships and with our county mileage. We're looking at about $964,530.64 total for both townships and county this year with that contract.
Are you increasing mileage, or is it pretty much staying the same?
We actually, on the county side, we decreased some of our mileage. I asked our tech who works on this project to try to keep it under that $1 million mark. Townships I've seen about the same, but on the county end, we decreased some mileage off of our end. Low traveled roads, low travel gravel roads, I don't see the value of putting it on a low travel ADT road. You're kind of, it serves no purpose, you know, for dust control or for keeping the fines on the road. When you get 10 to 30 vehicles per day, it's not a big impact.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
Right. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried.
All right, the next item is a resolution to approve purchasing of right-of-way. And this is for our project SAP 029601007, which is our CSAH project, CSAH 1 project in the city of Park Rapids from Trunk Highway 34 to the city limits. We have one small 0.01 acres that we need to purchase for a drainage outlet on the west side of the road.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, Dave moves, is there a second? I'll second. Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right, motion carried. Just a quick comment, Andrea. I like to see maps.
Yeah.
I'm a
And
map
actually,
guy.
I have them here.
I just like looking
didn't-
at the map so I can get a perspective of where everything is at. It's not a requirement by any means,
Okay.
but,
Yep, I'll keep that in mind
Okay, thank you.
for further. The next one, which would probably beneficial of a map too, is our roundabout project, our CSAH 7 and CSAH 40, another resolution to purchase right-of-way. We're purchasing from 8 parcels on that project, a total of 2.55 permanent acres and then 0.096 acres of temporary easement access on that project.
Have you contacted the landowners?
We have not yet. I wanted to get this approval by the board to purchase first, and then we'll be calling and contacting, and we have to get a map signed by Ryan, our survey, and then myself, and then we can send out the right-of-way packets to the landowners as well.
I was just curious if all were willing.
No, I've talked to one, one on the roundabout project, and they were in favor of improving the intersection on that access, so we'll hope that they sign very quickly and we can get this project going.
I'll move to approve.
okay, Shar moves, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried.
And that's all I have unless there's any other questions.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, Marley? Sit down.
Yeah, of course. Hi, everybody. How are you today? Cold. Okay, well, I'm just here to give kind of a little bit of an annual report on our activities in 2024 for public health. You should have gotten a copy of that with the reports. Right now, our public health staff consists of 6 public health nurses, 1 LPN, 2 health educators, 2 administrative staff, and then we have 1 home health aide who works on our foot care clinics. We do have an upcoming retirement in the next few weeks, and we will be looking to hire a replacement for that. We're going to change, hopefully, we'll be able to hire an RN to replace the LPN at a slightly lower FTE. So that's what we're looking at doing. If all goes well, that position should post here in the next few days. Our family home visiting and maternal child health section remains extremely busy. We have a family home visiting grant called Strong Foundations from the state of Minnesota that we do in combination with North Country, so Clearwater and Lake of the Woods counties. And we were exceeding our caseload goal, which our caseload goal has been 20, and we were at 25 to 26 for all of 2024, that many families for the entire CHB. And Hubbard itself, we had averaged around 13 families at a time on our family home visiting caseload. And those caseloads are, intensive family home visiting, so 1 to 2 times a week, intense visiting with the nurses. So we've really seen a demand for that service, and that continues to be, so we were able to apply to get an increased funding for 2025 to help us continue to meet that demand. So in 2024, there were 598 total family home visits. And then we did 18 new mom and baby visits. We do offer universal new mom home baby visits, so whether they're enrolled on any program, any mom in the county can have a nurse come out and visit her after she has a baby. And then we also contact every prenatal and postpartum that we are notified of. So made 66 actual contacts, and that might be phone calls or breastfeeding support or so on that we're able to provide for county residents. Just stop me anytime because I talk fast. So, WIC continues to be extremely busy. We still, out of Hubbard, we serve all of North Country. So our WIC coordinator serves Hubbard, Lake of the Woods, and Clearwater County. We did have a new WIC coordinator start in March of 2024. So that was huge because we have, again, continued to be very busy. We also, the state rolled out a new information system called Winnie in October. So we were able to start that with minimal issues. It's working really well. We continue to kind of do a hybrid model, which is that we see people who are due for their certifications and mid-certifications in person, but if they just require nutrition education, we do most of that by phone. So our average monthly participation in 2024 for Hubbard County was 518 participants, and for total North Country, 717. And so cumulatively in 2024, we saw 5,217 people for WIC in our county. For case management encounters in 2024, there were 2,328. Nora and Crystal are very busy. We did do PCS assessments through 10/1, and that was shifted back to the county, but we did 35 of those in that time. We also offer foot care clinics 2 to 3 times a month, and we had 297 appointments for those in 2024 with 28 clinics held. That's a high demand service as well. Hubbard and Prevention, I won't go into too detailed because I know Angie presents to the board pretty regularly, but she's an active coalition, and we have about 1.5 years left on that DFC grant that we get from the CDC. And infectious diseases continue to be a hot topic. COVID kind of just continues. We probably saw the peak of that end of December into January. We're still seeing quite a few cases. Now more of our respiratory illnesses have shifted into influenza, so we're seeing a lot of influenza A statewide. That seems to be, hospitalizations continue to rise for that, and we're seeing that here as well. I'm hoping that soon we're peaking on the influenza season. I know it's been a rough illness winter between influenza, COVID, norovirus, seeing a lot of RSV. Hospitalizations for that generally tend to be in ages 0 to 4 or 65 plus. Just also of note is that Minnesota saw its largest outbreak of pertussis in 2024 compared in the last 12 years. There were over 1,000 cases in Minnesota compared to 61 the year before. And we had 6 of them in Hubbard County, but I think that may have been an undercount because a lot of people had a chronic cough, and I don't know if everyone was tested. Pertussis is highly contagious if you're not treated, and you're contagious for 21 days without antibiotics. And then,
I did not know that.
yeah.
Nor did I.
Yeah, so any kind of a cough, nagging cough that won't go away, especially in children or who are go to daycare or whatever, it's worth checking that out. And then avian influenza is the other hot topic. We have not seen that yet in our county. The last positive flock in Minnesota was from January 24th. But obviously everyone sees, egg supplies at the store, and so it's definitely a nationwide issue that we are monitoring as well. I know there's one hospitalized case in Wyoming right now. The biggest hallmark of if you are infected with avian influenza as a person, and as of right now, there's no known person-to-person transmission, which is good news. But those who have been infected, the hallmark of it is a pretty severe case of pink eye, along with other influenza symptoms. So that's just something to note. And then we're looking ahead at 2025, or we're in 2025. Right now, I am working on our hospital's 2025 Community Health Needs Assessment. So I will likely ask to come before the board again later this summer to present those results and findings to you guys as well. We're getting close to finished on that. Working on our staffing as we look at that retirement coming. Funding, we're just kind of keeping an eye on what funding is going to look like. We're not getting a lot of guidance right now. We've gotten a lot of the various emails federally and statewide, but nothing. So far, funding has been steady, so we are hopeful. Just looking at our immunization rates, it's a little bit of a concern. We have a lower immunization rate in Hubbard counties with childhood immunizations. They did have an outbreak of measles in the cities last fall, and that is something we could be vulnerable to if that traveled up to our county, just because we're not at the threshold of immunizations. So it might have an impact on why the statewide pertussis went up so well as well. And then finally, the opioid funding. We did complete a survey, which I attached, a community survey for use of the funding last fall. The idea was to get what the community input on how to spend the funds and on the 4 sectors that they were asking. And it's pretty much, there was no one area that was more popular than any others, I guess is the answer from that so far. So the next step will be to have, bring some shareholders together to discuss, and then we would need to open it up for RFPs of how the funding wants to be spent. I will say this one is a tough one as timing wise, just because we kind of run thin in public health just to maximize our dollars. So I'm hoping this new nurse I can hire can maybe help me work on some of this. But yeah, I talked fast, and do you have any questions?
Marley, I'm assuming with the opioid funds, you'd be spending it on a number of things, like
Right.
prevention and.
I know with other counties, they've offered different grants, depending, because looking at the results, the community is interested in prevention, in harm reduction, in treatment. So there's different aspects that people could, request money for if they could, show that it would work towards those goals.
I will say, we've taken kind of it's a little bit more, I wouldn't say slower, but more diligent approach to the opioid funding. A lot of counties have just started spending right away, and I will commend Marley and the fact that we're doing a good survey, finding out what our community wants. And again, one of the bigger ones is the prevention, and part of that, most of that would be speaking to like the superintendents of the schools, is that education of the kids. They see a lot of the fentanyl overdoses based on pills that kids take, and they get passed around. They don't know that they're laced with it, and so a lot of that prevention work, I think, we will probably see a demand for that. So yeah.
Yep. That was ranked probably the highest, although like I said, it was very even, I think looking across the survey as far as the need is there all across the board really to address opioid issues.
How are we doing with mental health issues? Are we seeing increase in demand for?
Yeah, and that came up in our CHNA, like our Community Health Needs Assessment Survey, is that one thing that was kind of interesting when we were looking at top needs is that at least so far, and this is not finalized, but we did a focus group and we did in the survey, it looks like mental health is still the number one, and that has been for years as the need and where we're seeing demand for services. And substance abuse actually fell to number 3 with more poverty issues showing up at number 2, so that can be transportation, all the things that affect people in our with our higher rate of poverty in our county.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the family home visiting, and do you get referrals from Brian's department?
Yes, yes, a lot of referrals from, yes, yep. We get referrals, our own WIC department does a lot, but we get a lot of referrals from child services.
And part of that is the least restrictive to start off with. So if we have moms that are struggling maybe with addiction prior to giving birth, and we try to get the intervention in there right away post-birth to really get that. We found a really good high success rate with excuse me, mitigating son of a
Pertussis, just kidding.
that's what was going through my head.
I know everyone would.
No, we've seen a higher success rate and less of those families that fall into the other side of our services, as opposed to when they get some of that family home visiting, some confidence. There's a lot of stress, obviously, with young moms and dads, and so. Yeah.
I mean, it's a program that, it is intense, they have to commit to meeting with the worker, meeting with their nurse regularly and going, there's a strict, we have to follow a model, and there's a prescribed curriculum that they go through with their nurse. But once we have found that once they're able to commit and they can bond with their nurse, and it just really shows really good outcomes for moms who are in a lot of times tough situations. And that just having that support person that they know just kind of helps them navigate. They get to set individual goals. It's not just what we say. It's like, where do you want to be at the end of this? What are your goals for yourself, for your family, for your baby? And then they work towards those.
And it helps that it's not a county agency that's providing this or suggesting this for them. It's a nurse, somebody in healthcare that they can eventually gain confidence with and build a relationship, as opposed to the county intervention, which is always more restrictive, although it appears so.
I think starting early is very helpful and kind of key, but sustaining it is probably the most difficult thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
easy to get your foot in the door there, but to keep it going over long term so that they learn proper.
And the program, actually, ideally, we enroll them prenatally, so while pregnant, and then we see them until the child turns 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the ideal situation. They graduate. And we have a lot of our families make it through, because once, like I said, that connection with the nurse, and then they see the results and feel more confident in what they're able to do.
Okay. Anything else?
Is that not enough? Just kidding. Any other questions for me?
I don't have any questions, but I have a comment, because I just read this morning. I thought it was really interesting. So with the appointment of RFK Jr., there's 5 states that have proposed taking fluoride out of water, North Dakota being one of them. And Minnesota is one of the states listed as looking again at immunizations and all that involves. I'm on the Prime West board, so by the time the child is 2, if they do all the immunizations, it's either 70 or 72 doses of things. And we talk a lot about this at Prime West, about, why people aren't being or children aren't being immunized. That's a lot of. So it's gonna be interesting to see what all happens with that.
It is going to be interesting, and I will say, as public health, vaccines are one of the greatest public health inventions of the 20th century. They save lives. And if you ever want, there's a lot of good information on our vaccines now are much more modern, even than like what I had when I was a child. Or it sounds like a lot of doses, but the amount that they're getting is actually less at a time. So the intake of what they're doing, there's not as much on there. You take in more assaults on your I'm losing track of my words, each day than you get just by, the child picking something off the floor. They're going to be exposed to more than they are and what their vaccines are. But there's a lot of good research out there. I'd be happy to share it with you. But that I am concerned that with a lower rate of immunizations, we would see increases in vaccine preventable diseases. That would be a stress on our county, on our health system, on our families. We're seeing that outbreak in Texas right now. It's primarily children, and I'm talking about just your basic childhood vaccines. Nothing like COVID or anything like that. These measles, mumps, rubella, diphtheria. I think that we maybe don't remember, because it's been so long, and not seeing those illnesses, that we don't remember how devastating they can be to our young children.
And due to the amount of immigrants that have come in, that's gonna skew.
Well, and that's the other thing to remember is, yes, and all infectious diseases are only a plane ride away.
Yep.
So we are so mobile as a society that, an outbreak can occur instantly because someone might travel in and expose somebody. So.
And poverty does play into that too, because you see a lot of people, when you live in higher poverty areas, that access or that's not on their highest list of priorities. Their priorities are housing and food, and they don't always, have transportation. So you see that too. I can attest, I think, to the vaccination thing just from last week. My whole family has had influenza A, and I was holding out. Then last week it hit, but I saw the least amount of things. It was like my body knew what was going to happen. I got a fever, I had a headache, and then I was just kind of achy, but that was it. I didn't get anything else. So it's kind of. I was the only one that had my flu shot in my family, which is very odd. But I mean, the military makes me have it, so it's fine. But I know that it works.
You get everything.
I sure do. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
If I could only know what they gave me before I went to Iraq, because when I came back, I literally, no joke, I wasn't sick for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, get those records.
They don't exist because you hold out your.
Like I'm happy to provide,
Yeah,
information.
I was actually shocked Minnesota was even reconsidering anything on it, because, anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get in an argument or
No,
anything.
like I said,
interesting to me.
we are pro immunization just because of the devastating effects on children, and and same with influenza, RSV, our elderly population. Those immunizations save hospitalizations, save healthcare costs.
Yeah. RSV is a big one in our aging population. It can be devastating, especially if it gets into a nursing home.
Yes. So.
Okay, any other questions, comments? All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Brian, are you going to AMC?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am. Denise was so kind as to get me a hotel because I couldn't get one at the other one. But yes, I'll be there.
Okay, all right. Do you think I could schedule some time to talk with you and Mike?
Yes,
Okay, all right.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll shoot you an email.
Yep, very good, thank you. All right, Corey, now you can come forward.
My wife's an ER nurse, so I know all about these sicknesses. I hear a lot of complaints. Let's see, the first item I have, try to keep it quick. I know I have a lot on here, but to go back, Garfield Lake Park, Chip started working on this, 2016, 17, and it didn't really get too far, so we kind of picked it up again this last fall. The community up in LaPorte's pretty excited to get this going, and they want a little extra public play area for their kids and for themselves, and it's a good spot. It's got a nice beach on the lake up there, so we got together and we discussed what we could put there, and we're trying to keep it as affordable as possible. It's not going to be a big dollar park or anything like that. It'll just be something simple and where a family can go and have a picnic. But anyways, the CUP that we received, it requires 300 feet of fence that has to be installed by next fall. I sent out quotes, and we received quotes from, I believe, 3 different companies: Oberg Fence, Dakota Fence, and Keller Fence. Oberg Fence was the cheapest at $5,034 with all the different accessories, poles, fence, everything. And then we've worked with Oberg Fence for many years, or the department has, and I think they do a pretty good job at getting you what you need. So we're looking at approval to accept their quote, and they do deliver, so it'll be nice. We have all the tools to install fence.
I was gonna ask you, are they going to install as
No,
well?
so we asked how much it would, I asked all these companies how much it would cost to install, and they were all within about $15,000. And
Oh, really?
I said we could probably do it. Greg, our park supervisor, has done a lot of fencing, so we have the tools, and we'll probably just spend a few days out fencing, getting it done, so.
And this is to go between the neighboring lots?
Yep, the neighbor up to the south, yep, all along there. so.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to figure out which is south and which is, because to me, I think it's east. but-
Yeah, well, yeah, east, yep, east kind of is considered east of the lake.
Do you cement the posts in, the support posts do you cement all those in?
Yes, yep, so you put the bag in, and
Yep.
I think it's a bag and a bucket of water, 5-gallon bucket of water. Pretty simple. I've done some softball field fencing, and it's timely, but you can do it. It's not too bad.
I'll move to approve the local.
All right,
I'll second.
okay, very good. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried.
Thank you. And another thing is, we did receive, as you saw on the consent agenda, $2,500 from the LaPorte Lions Club and $1,500 from the Garfield Lake Ice Racers Club. It's really appreciated. That'll pay for the supplies for the 12 by 20 foot shelter, open shelter, so. Pretty nice of them, and I think they're willing to help put it all together.
I was just gonna ask, is the staff gonna build that too?
Yeah. It comes as a kit from Home Depot, I believe, so it shouldn't be too difficult, but. So things are moving up there. The community's pretty happy. The next item I have is to review and approve a quote for a purchase of a 60-inch mulching head attachment for the NRM department skid steer. It's kind of our big equipment purchase of the year. We didn't really have any other large purchases that we were planning on doing this year. This Fecon, it's a 60-inch Fecon mulching head. So our skid steer only has so much horsepower, so this is the one that would match our skid steer's horsepower. I wish we had a little more, just so we could get up to that 72-inch, but the 60-inch, I think.
That was gonna be my question to you,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Yep, but.
It is narrower than your machine is, so it's gonna be a
Yep.
little difficult to do some things.
Mhm.
So,
But yeah, this 60-inch, it will work. It seems like, watching videos of it, and it seems like it'll work just fine for what we'll need it for. So we'll be using it primarily for trail construction, trail maintenance, seed tree release, so that's going out in the woods and, clearing all the brush out around pine trees or hardwood trees that you wanna release and let them grow quicker. Pre-commercial thinning, that's, we've had contractors do this, but it's, when you have really thick jack pine, sometimes you wanna go clear out rows to help it grow quicker and healthier. Stump grinding and other recreational and forest improvements. We have a disc golf course that we're trying to build up in Ferris Park. This is, would be, a great machine for that.
How big a diameter tree can this one size handle?
It can mow over 15-inch or mulch over 5-inch, quick, but it can do any diameter as you go into it and back off, go into it, back off. But if you're just moving through the woods, it can go over 5-inch diameter stuff. Yep.
Uses for it.
Yeah, yep. So, we'll definitely get the use out of it, and the highway department was also interested, because they have some stumps in the ditches that they might wanna get rid of, so.
I remember about a decade seeing the first one of these heads go to work on, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
How quickly you can take
Yes.
down
Yeah.
a large tree and clean up a.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, and, I mean, you can rent stump grinders, but it can take 2 hours to get one stump out, and this takes 5 minutes.
Pretty similar to what they were using on 87 over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep,
Guess that
just a
thing was taking out stumps and anything in its way.
Yep,
They had
and,
several on 200 over in Walker when they did that.
yeah, yep. Those are quite a bit bigger, I think, but it's the same concept. But we did look at renting these, and it was like $7,000 for a week. So it's, I mean, you get your money's out of it
It had
within
a lot of uses. I think
4
it's
weeks
worthwhile.
even, so, yeah.
I'll move to approve.
Oh, I wish more contractors around here had some.
Yeah, yep,
Use it.
I'll second.
thank you.
Right, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Right, motion carried. Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
have, at work, we have a Fecon, but then we also have a rotary style.
Sure.
They both work really fantastic.
Okay.
The mulching style, the Fecon is by far preferred
Sure.
for
Yep.
cleaning ditches and
Yep.
and whatnot. Anything bigger than, 6 inches, it
Yep.
just gets difficult, so.
Yep, and I should mention the company, the US Equipment Sales, they're out of Brainerd, and they have all kinds of parts if you need parts, and service, and it comes with a 1-year warranty, and it's ready in 2 weeks, so I thought that was a pretty good deal, especially with the low quote. But anyways, move on to the next one. The next two are to do with our grant and aid trails that we sponsor, the clubs. The first one, a little background story. I don't know the complete DOT project, but they're planning on redoing 71 North, and they're gonna take out that 4-wheeler trail on the Hay Creek by Island Lake up there, or Eagle Lake. They're gonna take out that 4-wheeler trail on the west side, and they weren't gonna cover, the DOT wasn't gonna replace it. So they were gonna make ATVs come up onto the side of the road, which makes it a little bit dangerous, so. So the DOT decided to accept the ATV club's request by cost sharing with them to put in a culvert extension, if they can get grant funding to do so. So This is for the Hubbard County to support a grant application made by the Forest Riders ATV Club to apply for federal recreation trail funding and for us to be the sponsor. So it's kind of like that four-wheeler grant for the ski club. It's the same type of grant. They have 25% matching funds. And then we'll just be the pass-through.
So Corey, I got a question on that. Have you been on that trail?
Yeah, yep.
So that part that goes, I mean, you could fall into Hay Creek if you,
Mm-hmm.
is that where
Yeah,
that is gonna
Yep.
affect it? Okay.
yep, so this is to actually make it like a riding path. The DOT would make it a safe riding path.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll move to approve. It's definitely needed.
I'll second.
All right, any more discussion? I guess the only thing that I am not in agreement with is MnDOT's policies for things like this. You know, it's their plan to improve these roadways, but they don't take everything into consideration, and they aren't willing to help fund
Yeah.
the solutions to the problems that they create. And it is extremely frustrating.
Yep.
I'm running into the same thing up in LaPorte right now, with the city of LaPorte and trying to do the improvements. Throwing all that costs back onto the cities to do some of these things when it's their plan in the first place. This, MnDOT's plan, so. All right,
Yeah,
so
you'd think they'd want to make things safer, not.
yeah,
not
so
less
we have a
safe.
motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried.
All right, thank you. The club will be pretty excited to hear that. So the next one is with a different club, the Forest Riders Snowmobile Club, not the ATV Club. They're both Forest Riders, but one's snowmobile, one's ATV. Get there. The Snowmobile Club is looking also for support for a grant application for the same type of grant, a federal recreation trail funding grant. So a private landowner closed off a trail by Hungry Man Lake because they technically owned the trail and they didn't want snowmobiles going on it anymore. So the state decided to make a trail through their woods, and the club puts in a temporary bridge that they have to take out every year. And it's kind of dilapidating. It's not the greatest wooden bridge you could find. And I think they have to take it out every year so boats can traverse the lake. So they're looking at applying for a grant that they can build an actual structured steel bridge that boats can go under, that they can leave in all year long. And this trail actually connects to a majority of the Hubbard County, western Hubbard County trails system, so.
Yeah, you could probably get up to Wobbin and everything.
Yep,
going
yep,
along
it's a
this trail
pretty-
path,
Yeah,
the
you
corridor.
get a lot of-
Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of
It'll go a
one of the
long
main
ways.
routes for that area
Yeah,
anyways,
I can
but,
understand that.
they're looking for us to sponsor them to apply for a grant to, fund this new bridge project, so they don't have to deal with this old wooden bridge every year.
Did they mention any complications if with topography there, if they're gonna elevate the bridge higher, is that gonna require a bunch of excavating work?
You know, I
To
don't
raise the
think,
grade of the trail area right there?
I don't
Other
think,
permitting problems with the DNR or anything?
yeah, so I don't think so. They've worked with the hydrology department, and I think hydrology has approved their system, their route. You know, I've actually been back there and I saw their bridge, and I think if they can get a good enough arch, that, it'll work out just fine, but,
Okay.
yeah.
Right. All right,
I'll move to approve.
I'll second. Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye? Opposed? All right, motion carried.
Is the land sale at 1 or 1:30 on Friday?
Yep, oh yeah, the land sale, yep, 1 o'clock on Friday, sorry, yep, it's coming quick, yep. Yeah, so there's 18 parcels, should be hopefully a good turnout. Yeah, well,
I'm hoping to make it.
okay.
Have you sold anything from the last sale over the counter?
No, we didn't, so, hopefully with some of these reduced prices, we can get get a lot of these off our books. City assessments are kind of tough. It's, I'm wondering if we could work with the city at some point and see what they can do to help out.
That would be great. We did,
Yeah.
we tried to do that, excuse me, with the HRA, and the city didn't have a lot of room at that time to
Okay.
move stuff, but it's worth asking again.
Yeah, we're selling lots for $100, but they have $18,000 worth of assessments, so
Yeah.
makes it a little tough. And then, I don't know, Jeff, do you want to speak about Deep Lake, or? I can too. It's, we've been meeting with the DNR on Deep Lake, on Teams, and a little bit of a positive thing we heard is that we're gonna get the grant, here shortly, so we can get started on engineer work, signage, stuff that doesn't, SHPO still is kind of, being a struggle with us right now. They don't want us disturbing any soil, so we're getting the grant contingent on soil disturbance, no soil disturbance.
Which means that we'll be able to start the engineering for the road development, that we'll be able to start the planning for the remodeling of the building that's gonna stay in place. And we'll be able to get our RFPs ready to go. We'll be able to spend the planning money that's part of the grant. And then hopefully the archaeological survey will get done quickly after spring thaw. And as soon as that happens, then the rest of the funds will be released. We are also asking for an extension, because you remember when we got the grant, we said there were 24 federal funds left, or there were the previous year funds available left. So we said, yes, we're ready to go. We'll take previous year funds. So 2/3 or 3/4 of our funds will expire June of 2026. And we need those extended for a year because of the delay relative to historic and archaeological work. If we can do our bids in July, we might still get that road constructed, we might get the demolition done this year. We might not. And if we don't get it done this year, we're not gonna get it done before June 30th and 26, because we can't start till after spring thaw, right? So we're just asking for, did we get the grant? Did we get the signed papers?
Not yet, but I believe she's working on it,
Okay.
getting it over to us.
So we'll be able to, like I said, we'll be able to get the planning done, and we'll be able to move as soon as we get the clearance from the Historic Preservation Office.
So will this delay then allowing people to come in for walking trails?
We're still hoping that we can at least do the demolition in '25.
So that the demo has to be done first
Yeah.
before you're gonna allow anybody on, right?
Yeah.
Archaeology work can happen in April, they believe, if enough snow melts, but, yeah, then after April, it takes 3-4 weeks to get SHPO approval of the archaeology work, and so demo could potentially happen June this year, June, July. I suppose RFPs,
RFPs are you're
Probably
gonna
a
add
month
60
for
days to that, so
Yeah,
we're
July.
probably,
July,
we're probably 3-4 months after we get
Yeah.
the SHPO clearance.
Yeah,
Before
so
we actually
possibly
have the demo.
not till late fall or maybe into 2026,
I would like to see it, I would hope to see it done in fall.
yeah.
yep, so.
But
it's,
it is progress, and the DNR is working with us on that, and
The DNR's actually been pretty good to work with. They want us to get it going because they don't want to hold these funds. It's the SHPO, the Preservation Office, that is kind of holding up the show, so hoping things can get moving.
and we've got bi-weekly meetings with Stuart Crosby just to make sure that we're managing this going forward. They've got some skin in the game too, because they've got the low quote for us to do the road engineering work. It'll also give us an opportunity. We applied for grant funding to do the archaeological work, and we didn't get that last year. What we're doing for the archaeological work is the stuff that just has to happen right there where the building and the road is gonna be. There's more archaeological work that needs to be done, so we'll be applying for grant funding of the second half of that, which is actually the second 2/3 of that. And that's not, we don't need to have that done until second or third phase of the development. So we can apply for that, get that done. When we get that done, then we'd apply for funds for phase 2 and phase 3.
Yeah.
Okay, if nothing else,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Thank you,
Have a
Corey.
good week.
Right,
Next week.
Josh.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
All right, I have two agenda items this morning. The first agenda item is to review and approve quotes for a hook pup trailer for solid waste. So our hook pup trailer is used in conjunction with our hook truck to haul our recycling up to Polk County. We also haul, organics, or if we happen to have a reason to haul MSW, we haul that as well. But the trailer would replace an existing pup trailer. We have this budgeted for 2025. We received two quotes, with the low quote being from Northland Truck Sales out of West Fargo. And that's for a Great Lakes SR 2440 pup trailer. It is the same model and brand as the current one we have been using, and haven't had any issues with it. And the low quote for that is $36,900. And just to note, we will plan to keep our existing trailer now, just for a backup. We don't have a backup in our fleet, so we'll keep that on hand too, so.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second. Any more discussion?
I like the word in stock.
Yeah, that's always nice to see.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried.
All right, the second item I have is to review and approve a quote for a shop remodel for our department. We budgeted for a small remodel to our shop building, Building C at the transfer station in Park Rapids. This is a minor remodel, which would mainly involve removing a wall that separates our shop from the rest of our storage bay, where we store several of our packer trucks. And by removing the wall, it just allows us to have more functionality and more space to be able to get our larger pieces of equipment in to get work done within the shop. By doing this, we'd also add a second heater for the building. The building's already insulated, the full building's already insulated, so we don't have to worry about that. And it involved, removing the wall, installing the heater, and then covering the electrical work that needs to be completed just to do the project. And the work would also coincide with other repair work Hadi is doing on our building on an MCIT claim. So the quote we had was from Hadi Contracting out of Monaga for $14,664. And I guess another note, we will probably be coming back later this year at some point to look at doing some light upgrades as well, over to converting stuff to LED, but that'll be separate from this request, so.
And I see you have here that this was the only quote received.
Yeah, since they were in the building, already gonna do the work, we thought it'd be in the best interest to go with them, so.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Ted moves. Is there a second? All right, I'll second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried.
I just have one thing for you, Josh.
Mhm.
I actually stopped last week because I was looking for something specific in the Henrietta Mall. Spring cannot come soon enough. You guys are empty. It's like you have nothing left there to choose from.
Yeah, we did, kind of a major clean out a few weeks ago, and it's been pretty slow for getting restocked, so. Yep.
That time of year. Yeah.
That's perfect timing, because in 2 weeks, we're gonna be filling that barn with stuff from here.
Oh.
Josh, I've got something, I've been to the North Transfer Station, obviously, several times. Every once in a while, I might have like a old metal box fan, or maybe brake rotors or something, just a couple of metal items. And I was wondering if we could put like a dumpster or something up by the building versus having to drive out back just to toss a couple of minor things.
Yeah, I think it's something we can work on. I know we've talked about it in the past, and it's just not as convenient with the equipment we have up there, but we also have the dump truck up there we can transport stuff with, so.
I mean, even myself, there's the temptation just to toss it in the trailer,
Yep.
you know, but I tell myself, no, you shouldn't be doing that, and I drive around, you know, but that's the only thing I could think of up there that I think would be handy. I think other people would find it handy too.
Yep, sounds good.
Thank you.
Is that the new grinder at the South Station?
Yep, we have that at the South Station. Arrived, I think, 2-3 weeks ago. We have, last week, we sent, annually, they have a training at school that they put on, so we sent a couple staff people to that last week, sending a couple more this week. And then hopefully we got the warmer temperatures on the horizon, and we'll get it set up and get the program rolling, so.
Okay, good. You're gonna start on the brush pile, or?
Yep, I imagine our brush pile and our shingle pile, and we'll try to work all our bugs out and get a plan for moving forward after that, so.
All right, very good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the item, this is kind of a, we have the county board portion, and then we have the HRA EDA portion. So, on this portion, the HRA EDA is asking the county to consider selling that parcel 07030180, as we discussed, for less than market value. And the determination you would need to make is that this satisfies the criteria that it's for housing, it's gonna be market rate housing, and it's needed in that area statutorily. And Corey and I talked about it, and I think he just forgot that we were doing this today, but he's satisfied that this, if the board makes a determination that this qualifies for a reduced rate, we could sell it to the HRA at a reduced rate for that housing project that's proposed up there. Mary's gonna have more conversation about that at the HRA meeting after here. She's gonna have a couple of different options for you to move forward with. She's got developers who are interested in buying parcels at the rate that we're gonna be able to sell them, anticipating this is the rate that we're gonna be able to purchase that parcel at.
So one of my comments is, when we discussed the 101 acres we asked to be removed from the sale last week at the works session, Tom brought up how important it is that we find land to develop, and that can be put back on the tax rolls. And so with that and the project we have in mind, I'll move to approve this.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right,
So the price would be, we reimburse for the timber that's on there. And they're still gonna put forward a plan to selectively harvest from there before we get there, but we'll set the price at that current value of timber.
Perfect.
The second item is a recurring request that we get, and I bring it to you every time, because
They
it's
won't
not,
quit.
it's not for me to say that it doesn't come to the board, but their request is for, what is it, a few $100s?
membership, $300.
It's $300, and first of all, they have the wrong board chair from years
Yes,
ago.
yes.
Secondly, I actually was trying to learn about this yesterday, and their website's been taken down. So I actually contacted a commissioner from a county that's currently a member who couldn't tell me anything of what they have done. And so I
Well,
would,
No, go ahead.
I would just say, I'm not interested. I don't see how it would benefit Hubbard County whatsoever.
I went online and I did find their website, and I found
Did you? What was it on?
the last minutes were from 2023 for
Okay.
meeting minutes.
Okay.
And it didn't look like, and it had minutes back to, I think it was to 22 or 21. But it didn't look like they were extremely productive. There were some grants and things like that that they were facilitating, but there wasn't an exhaustive wording about what they do and how they do it and who governs them and so forth, so.
If you made a motion to deny this and ask me to ask them to withdraw our name from their contact list, I would do that.
So move.
Is there a
I don't know if
second?
it'll happen, but
I'll second.
All right, any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried.
if I had anything to report, it would be that Clifton Larson Allen was here last Thursday and Friday holding interviews with all the staff in the auditor's office and many staff from across the county and Commissioner Delahunt and myself. And we are making plans to have them allocate staff. So the business review, they'll do from the information that we've sent them and from the meetings that they had and the interviews that they had, and they'll be providing a report. Remember, that was the first part of it, is they're gonna do a business assessment report and provide that to us. And that's going to help us determine what level of staffing we need, what positions, what skills we need to fill out the rest of that office so we can get going on filling those vacancies, that vacancy or those vacancies. And the second portion of it is the part where they're gonna come in and they're gonna work alongside our staff and help them get things up to date. And I was able to clarify with them that, and after their review with staff, that they're gonna be on site, and I don't know what the exact schedule is. If it's gonna be a couple days a week, if it's gonna be full-time for 3 weeks, whatever it's gonna be, but their goal is gonna be to come in, start in January 2024, and work forward, implementing procedures, working with correcting codes within our IFS system, and then reconciling our accounts from January 2024 through now, developing policies, procedures, training our staff so that they can pick up on January 2025 and carry it forward and know how to do it. The intention would be that when they're done with this, our staff would know all the policies, procedures, that our accounting codes would all be up to date and correct, and that we would have our background financial work done to start on our 2024 audit early. So the goal would be to do that between now and June. June would be when we'd want to get that information off to the state so they can start our audit and we can actually get done on time this year, is kind of the hope. So that was a really good process. I think everybody that had an opportunity to meet with them recognized that they knew what they were talking about. They had direct experience working with the systems we were working with. They've had direct experience working with the state and with our accounting system, IFS. So I don't know if anybody had any questions about where we're at with that process. The other update would be relative to the construction project. The first phase of construction, and what looks like we're on time to get our permits and everything to be able to start on time, would be starting the week of March 17th. Yeah. So a month from yesterday, we would be starting on the second floor of this building, and that means that second floor staff is gonna be displaced, and our plan is for them to move the week of the 10th, pack everything up, get everything moved into their new spaces that they're gonna be occupying. Environmental Services is gonna be occupying the office downstairs, and the law library. Property Records is gonna be occupying the third floor conference room. They're not all gonna fit, which means they're gonna have a remote kind of schedule. They'll have different people rotating in. They will both have space and opportunities for the public to come in and meet with staff, just as they currently have. We are not taking photos for passports, but we are processing passports during the construction period. So nothing should be that terribly different. And as I mentioned, the office furniture on the first and second floor, most of it is in the budget to be replaced. So I'm working with Bobby, and Bobby's working with staff to get a list of everything that we have. And we're gonna, whatever we can use internally and move from one place to the next. For example, IT wants different stuff down in their space. We're gonna do that, and then we're gonna work with STS crew to do the moving out of all the old stuff. And for all practical purposes, the easiest way for us to dispose of that, it's gonna cost us more to set up an auction than we would make in proceeds from trying to get rid of old office material. So I think we're just gonna take it all over to the reuse center and let it go out that way. That way, the majority of it will get reused. And whatever's damaged or not usable, obviously, then we can just take to the appropriate recycling portion.
Is that front door still available to the public? Is that where they'll come in?
The front door is gonna be the front door throughout the entire project. The only time that, that's kinda new. The only time that the public space is going to be done is at the end of the first floor remodel, or in between the Phase A and Phase B. They're gonna be doing that hallway from the entrance back to the court, but that work is scheduled to be done on 2 weekends, so that we don't disrupt the ability of the public to get to where they need to be. So there's really nothing at the front door, or the security desk, or access to the first floor office that is ever gonna be unavailable. There will be general construction noise for 6 months. They said 10 to 12 weeks, but you do 10 to 12 weeks times 2 floors, and it's 6 months. And so from March until September, we'll be doing that. There will be a construction trailer out here in the parking lot, be along the side next to the title company. And we are probably going to also be putting a Conex container out there to hold whatever it is that's on the first floor that we need to keep, but we don't have room for during the remodel. So mostly file cabinets, other equipment. But both offices should be fully functional the whole time. Eric's staff is all gonna be here in those 2 spaces at temporary workstations. And then property records will be, more than half will be here, and they'll be rotating on a remote schedule. That work doesn't start until after we get our spring road restrictions lifted. But at our next construction meeting, we are bringing the city here so we can talk through plans about signage and closing, because this is when that road gets closed. Will be in May of this year, April or May this year, so.
Okay, any more discussion, any questions?
We are maintaining a website for that construction project. You'll be able to click through it. It's got one of the tiles on the front page of the county website. If you are hearing questions from the public that we haven't addressed, just let us know the question, and we'll put it in the FAQs so that we can point people all to the same spot.
Okay, very good. Committee reports. Who wants to start?
I guess I can start. I've got one. David and I were on the criminal justice workshop, met the new judge, discussed starting a DWI court. We did discuss a drug court too, but we're gonna start off with a DWI court. Best case scenario, we're still probably looking at early next year before things are up and running.
Yeah, fall at the earliest if everything works out perfectly. It's fully funded. Yeah, it's been long coming, and the new judge supports it quite well, so.
And it sounds like we're one of the few counties around here that doesn't have one.
Right.
So I'm excited about it. I think David is too.
Yeah, it'll come down to how fast they identify team members and get them trained. I think that Colorado one was in this fall sometime.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember that was August, September, October, or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and that's all I have.
Want me to go next? Let's see, I had a Crow Wing, One Water City, One Plan Policy Committee meeting. Everything's coming together there. The MOAs are all in, I believe. And then we approved the bylaws and then assigned roles. The fiscal agent is going to be the Crow Wing SWCD. Grant administrator will be the SWCD, and plan coordinator will be the Hubbard SWCD. And then we approved the preliminary implementation budget of $1,667,000. And they also, the preliminary plan for the use of those funds, which, that could change as we go along. Then we had the mental health board, or I had the mental health board, and the LAC, Local Advisory Council. The cottage is now open 6 days a week, which is part thanks to our increased funding to it that they requested last year. And they've had this is a report that was given by one of those on the LAC council, but they said was a 76% increase in attendance at the drop-in center, which is really good because, that's where they build relationships with each other, and that is really beneficial for the mental health of each one of them. And then Kelsey, I think she wants to come here, a work session in April is what she's got in mind. I don't know if she's gotten back in touch with you.
We're waiting until after they've had some time down with the legislature.
Yep, that's why she said April.
Yep.
'Cause I think it's this week they're going down there, yeah.
I'm just waiting to hear back from her.
Yep. That's all I got.
Okay, I think the only thing I had was extension. There really wasn't anything significant that happened there. They're looking to hire a part-time office staff. I don't think that's occurred yet. And then there's a community needs assessment through extension that can be filled out. It just asks you, do you garden, do you grow crops, do you do it very often or not, do you raise livestock, those types of things. So if anybody wants to take that survey, that would be good. It gives them an idea of what to focus on, what areas people are in need of or want more information on, and maybe there's some presentations that can happen.
Did Lisa send that out?
This came from, oops, I just lost it. This came from Tara,
Oh, okay.
and they did choose a farm family of the year. So that news should be coming out shortly, I would think. And that's all I had, unless David has something else that jumps out. It was a Zoom meeting, so it's a little different than being in person, so, yeah.
Prime West is the one I have, Walt's budget and how it will affect Prime West if it goes through. It would discontinue chiropractic care for people 21 years and over, which will actually increase healthcare costs because people will have to seek treatment at ER or have surgery instead of chiropractic. And the state wants to take back all pharmacy from the insurance companies. And they're touting that it will be an increase of $53 million in revenue to the budget. However, Jim said that they have not put any expenses in the state budget for running the pharmaceutical program. So that's really deceptive. And just to note that the state also wants to take back the dental program. And if the state takes back dental and pharmacy, it will affect how people living in rural are given services. So we are trying to combat that. The Prime West 2025 budget, the administration expenses are 6.35% to revenue. Expenses to total expenses are 6.51. The healthcare expenses are at 93.7%. This is for Prime West itself now. And their goal would be to be at 92. Karma, which is a negotiation between DHS and county-based health programs, they're still trying to move that forward. Paul Ucky would sign on to the bill, and if it passes, that would begin in 2026, which would make it the counties have the ability to be single payer. So instead of people having to choose, now they have to choose between Prime West and some other payer in Hubbard County, they could just choose Prime West. And then Prime West received the Good Housekeeping Seal of Approval for NCQA accreditation, and only 1/3 of health plans in the state of Minnesota received this award. And this is the 10th year that Prime West has received it. That's what I have.
Ted, you guys covered the other two that, so other than those two, that's all I had too. I will note that I did make a phone call to Senator Steve Green and discuss kind of what happened with our last meeting on the
Oh, yeah,
on the 3M property, and I kind of told him, I said, you can start out by saying, see, I told you so. It's okay. Because, he was all over this 7 years ago, and didn't get any support from counties when he tried to push a bill through. I said, asked him to relook at it again, and I'll certainly try and bring it up with others when I'm down in the cities a couple weeks from now. And it'd be nice if MRC would pick up the mantle and push it a little bit, but I'll definitely talk to Matt about it at AMC and explain to him exactly, having a real life example of how it actually went down might help them understand the potential pitfalls of some of it.
And Tom, I can appreciate what you said about, we need to put more tax forfeit land back on the tax roll. It's gonna take a lot of tax forfeit land back on the tax roll to equal what the potential of that $40 to $50 million tax capacity.
Yeah, I was thinking, looking at it from 3M's perspective.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're very well aware they could have gotten a lot more money for that, but they're looking at this as a public, trying to make them in their image, their public image.
Yeah.
Because they've had these PFAS issues and all that, and
damaged.
so that they went this route because they wanted to.
And you know what? I'd still support what private companies do for sale. The big thing here is that they use tax dollars to purchase it, and the purchase is taking land off the tax rolls. To me, that's the issue, that it's not that 3M decided to sell it to whoever.
And even with the perspective, which you can appreciate, as Tom mentioned, that doesn't necessarily mean that it aligns with the goals and objective of the local government units. And there's just no teeth in the fact that they come and present what they're gonna do and ask your opinion, but your opinion doesn't matter. So there ought to be a demarcation line in there somehow where your opinion does matter, and you get to determine the destiny of how land is used in your county in some cases. How that would be crafted, I'm not sure, but, Steve did have a bill once before that basically said any nonprofit or that purchased land and was gonna convey it to a public entity would have to have local government approval to do so.
Because we're also seeing that with the different hunting organizations, not so much in Hubbard County, but statewide, there's a lot of money, they have a lot of money to buy, and then they donate. And once again, it's not or, it's an and. How do you manage all that?
Yeah. Now, if a private entity wants to buy it and keep it and maintain it for the public good, that isn't any different than any private individual
Right.
purchasing land, and you really shouldn't have to say. But the minute they choose to convey it to a public entity, and that's their objective, that's a whole different matter then, because then it's gone.
I hope they can sell.
Takes it off the tax rolls.
I hope they can sell that remaining couple hundred acres that's developed to someone who will make it like a big resort facility, convention
Yeah.
center out of
It'd
it.
be wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be good.
Yeah, I don't know if there's enough open space there to do any sort of, like an Arrowwood kind of operation where you have the larger facilities to have your meetings with large groups. I don't think the footprint, is gonna work there, but it is a very nice, so to say, retreat. I've been in the buildings, in the past, and they're very well kept, they're very nice, especially the main lodge is very nice. And there's a lot of accessory buildings that are being used for maintenance purposes of the property itself. And there's other amenities that are there that are desirable for somebody that has that as a retreat opportunity. So it is very good.
We had Action Park Rapids last Thursday, and so I talked about this last Thursday, and afterwards, someone who had been employed at Wanwalk for 20-some years came up and talked to me and started telling me about the history. It's fascinating how it all started, and, yeah.
You know, the frustrating part is, yeah, it's, you know, everything they said and presented to us, while true, yeah, it's probably a real nice piece of property and everything. But by the time gets all said and done, how many people a year do you think will actually use the property?
That's what I was thinking too.
I would bet less than 300 to 500 a year.
It's not gonna
You
be
know,
much use.
so it's like, when you start to look at best use and how to accomplish both sets of goals, I don't think it really aligned is the thing, but, so it's frustrating from that standpoint, because this probably goes on more often than people realize.
Okay, if there's nothing else in committee reports, the meetings to note, department head meeting next,
Whose turn is it to go?
I was there last.
5th.
And I was there in December.
I guess it'd be David or Tom.
And you're, what time are you going to the cities that day?
On Tuesday after the Heritage meeting.
Okay, do you wanna shoot the whole day and go to the department head meeting too, or you want Tom to take it since you're gonna be gone?
I probably should go to work at some point.
Can you go, Tom?
Get something done.
Yeah, I can go. I'll have to let SWCD know that they'll put me later on their agenda, but yeah, I can do both of them.
Okay.
I'll go.
Work that week sometime.
Right, then the legislative conference, David, you're going, correct?
What's that?
Legislative conference?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going. Is anyone else going?
Yeah, I'll be down Tuesday night for the MRC.
Yeah, I'll be there for MRC as well, so. And I know Brian said he's going.
I think
so-
Brian and I are the others that are
Okay,
going,
all
so.
right. Yep. I just wanted to get some time to meet with Brian and Mike a little bit more and talk about their issues in depth, so we can all be on the same page and communicate the same things. So I was gonna plan a little meeting with those two.
So speaking of that, what Alan brought up today, you know, about the one piece of legislation. And so when we looked into that, because if we talked at MRC what the voting record was, and then I brought that back here. And it was presented before they voted that this would be fully funded by the state. And so it was just interesting how it's not part of the budget. So when you're
Yeah.
talking to Brian,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, then we have the leadership summit in March at Grandview Lodge, so.
I'm gonna plan to go to that.
So I think that one fills up quickly, so if we want to go as a group or part of the group wants to go, we should.
Denise, you,
probably-
I'll go.
Okay,
And Denise, I'll go too, but I probably won't get a room.
okay.
I don't think I'll be able to make it.
I drove last year, I'm not sure I'm gonna stay either, I drove back and forth.
Okay.
I'll be on vacation.
What a great place to go.
Does it matter if you stay
Yeah.
over?
All right, if there's nothing else, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second. Any more discussion about that? Right, all those in favor? Aye.
I